If you were paying close attention to my last video, I bet you noticed that the image quality has gone way, way, way up. This might be the best camera on the market for the prosumer. Up until now, Nikon had been a solid D student when it came to videography. They were always really great with their stills cameras, but unfortunately for video, they lag behind the other players fairly significantly. This camera is a huge breakout for Nikon, and it's really a huge alarm bell that is signaling that this is the end of the DSLR era for the prosumer video market. I'm referring to folks like myself who are looking for pro-grade equipment on an amateur budget. This Nikon Z6 really ticks all the checkboxes for me without shelling out Canon cinema, RE, or red kind of money. So before we delve into all the individual components of this rig, let's talk about the key features of the camera. Full frame sensor. Those are the three magic words rocking the mirrorless camera world today. We first saw it in the Sony Alpha series and in the Canon EOS R. Raw 12-bit 4K. This is such a huge game changer. Currently, this camera supports 422 10-bit N-Log to an external recorder over HDMI. However, Nikon promises that the firmware updates will provide 12-bit RAW. Now, of course, there's the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema that does offer 4K 12-bit RAW. However, it has a fairly small micro four thirds sensor. So why does this matter? The extra bit depth gives you more color data, and it gives you a flat, desaturated image that you can really fine-tune when you're correcting and grading. This is exactly like using your stills DSLR to shoot RAW. So guys, just to put the money into perspective, a Canon C200 entry-level cinema camera starts at $6,500. Getting an RE, well, that's the definition of sky's the limit. And of course, I'm not suggesting that this is as good as that RE, but it is just such a fine camera for a prosumer that it's worth a look. This is the Atomos Ninja V. It's a monitor and a recorder that's paired with a Nikon Z6. The Ninja V features a 10-bit touch display, and it's able to record in ProRes and DNx HR formats. If you were wondering how we're going to capture that HDMI 10-bit N-Log in 12-bit RAW video, this is the answer. The Ninja V also offers many advanced features that you would find on a cinema camera, like focus peaking and exposure, zebras, and things like that. And you can preload LUTs, so you can see what the final image might look like. You could use an Atomos with any other compatible camera. I'm using one with the T30 that we're filming this particular video with. Let's talk about some of the other great features in this camera. 1080p at 120 FPS makes for some really slick slow motion footage. The sensor shift 5-axis stabilization in the body of the camera, plus a very nice kit lens, makes for some very good run and gun. This lens is a 2470 f4, which on a full frame sensor is plenty of light. Now you could go to a 2.8, but this adds thousands in cost, especially if you're going to get multiple lenses. The autofocus is also really good too, which is great news for vloggers and one-man band kind of guys like myself. Now, of course, the Sony Alpha cameras also have great autofocus, as does the Canon EOS R with its 2-pixel system. Those are absolutely amazing. Not to say that this Nikon can't really keep up. It does offer very good focus if you're using the Z series lenses. You can autofocus with the FTZ adapter, which also worked very well, but maybe not quite as quickly. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with the low light capabilities of the Sony a7S II. That camera is a night vision machine, but this camera is no slouch. Even with an f4 lens, you get some really amazing low light performance.
This guy used to be friends with on MySpace, like sitting in even though he's still good.
You know, when it comes to the build quality, I think it's very solid. Also, the ergonomics feel great. If you're used to Nikon, this camera fits like a glove. Overall, the Nikon does very well with the battery performance. I was pleasantly surprised. So what don't I like? Well, for one, this camera doesn't really have metering in video mode. This means you can't really tell what you're exposing. There are zebras, but they work kind of weird. So really, it feels like it was set up for an external monitor. which makes sense if you're going to use it like a cinema camera. You typically mount something on it. Also, another negative is this back screen, kind of like I mentioned before, it doesn't really come all the way around. It's not fully articulating. It only has a tilt feature, which isn't really great for a one-man band. Also, if you're not shooting with an external recorder, you only have one slot, and it's not an SD slot. It's the Sony format, XQD. It's not as readily compatible with built-in card readers and laptops and devices like that. That being said, I do think that XQD is a more professional format. I'm sure as you noticed, I have an external mic, and unfortunately it is running through the camera and not directly to the Ninja V. The Ninja V can't power this particular mic. Not only is the internal mic bad, but the preamps are bad. So you get a lot of noise on a mic, but it is good enough for syncing audio, and it's good enough for when I do run out on the street and just grab some quick video of an event. You'll hear some audio at the end of this clip. So talking lenses, there are not a lot of Z lenses yet. I really like this particular kit lens. I think it's very sharp. I think it's a good price point for a full frame lens. I think we're gonna see a wide range of Nikkor lenses coming on the market soon. So let's talk a little bit about the rig that I built. Now, of course, here's the camera lens and body. These came as a kit with the FTZ adapter. This is the Atomos 5 that I bought with some extra batteries and of course some SSDs. And it's connected by HDMI directly to the camera. Then I also put it inside of a small rig cage. Now this cage comes with these wood handles. They're optionals, of course, and it has a little HDMI clamp, and a lot of other accessories are possible. And of course you can use cold shoes everywhere. If you're kind of into weapons, it's sort of like an accessory rail on a firearm. So as I mentioned, there is an external mic in the cold shoe. That's the Rode Video Mic Go. Now, of course, to protect the lens, I got a Hoya HD3 UV filter. So before we talk conclusions, if you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up. Give me a nice comment or subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Below the video, there are also links to all the products I'm discussing. They're Amazon affiliate links, and if you use them, a small share of the proceeds goes to me. I highly recommend this camera. The Nikon Z6 is excellent. Now, of course, out of all these top-tier prosumer cameras, you really can't go wrong. Even the crop sensors like the Blackmagic, the X-T30 we're using. But for me personally, that Z6 just ticks all the buttons, and it's got the 12-bit, the full frame, and it just comes out as a nice cinema package when you put it all together. Now, of course, this is an unusual choice, and for some it'll seem like a crazy risk to jump into Nikon, who have had poor performance in the past when it came to video. I am kind of in the Nikon ecosystem already, but I really saw myself buying a Sony, and then the Z6 just smacked me out of left field when I found out about it. Does anybody really need such an expensive camera? And the answer is probably no. You know, this X-T30 that we're using to film this, you know, you pair it with a Ninja and together it's like half the price. Here's the issue though. The X-T30 overheats outdoors. It chews through batteries. You can't plug in a USB-C and the HDMI at the same time. Why? The ports are too close together. The Nikon has some little issues too, but the core competencies are really there. And I wound up with another Nikon. So guys, I guess the last words that I'm gonna really leave us with is that if you haven't been a Nikon fan, or maybe you have and you wanna try it again, if you're ready for an unusual choice, give that Nikon a shot, at least play with it. I think you might really like it. I just found it to be a very impressive camera.
Yeah,